Hello, I'm Dr. Stephen Andrew Missick. I'm running for Texas State Legislature, HD 18, which is Liberty, San Jacinto, East Montgomery County, and Hardin County. And today I want to talk about why I'm running against the incumbent, Ernest Bales. And there's a lot of reasons. Fundamentally, Ernest Bales is a Democrat who runs on the Republican ticket. And what he does is he campaigns as a conservative Republican. He gets to Austin and he votes with the Democrats. And sometimes he votes with some conservative legislation that's going to pass no matter what. And he promotes that, oh, look, I voted for this legislation, that legislation. But when it comes down to the crux, he's a very important asset to the Democrats to get their left-wing agenda through. So, one day I was doing campaign work, and I was talking about Ernest Bales and his record. And this woman knew Ernest Bales, and she was very offended. So what I want to say is I'm not maligning him. We're looking at documented facts of his record. This is not stuff I'm making up. This is all documented. And at the end of this program, and actually in each image I put up, we're going to see the source. Everything's sourced and documented. So this isn't just maligning him or making stuff up. This is news reports and Republican and conservative organizations that have evaluated his voting record. So let's begin. First, Ernest Bales attended a Flip Texas Blue rally and wore a purple shirt to show his solidarity with the movement to transition Texas from red to purple to blue. What does this mean? Well, a red state is a solid conservative Republican state. Ernest Bales is part of a movement to flip Texas blue. No one made him go to this rally. It was a let's transition to Texas blue rally. And those who were supporting this rally, this movement, this cause, were wearing purple shirts. It's like, if you support the movement to flip Texas blue, please come wearing a purple shirt because we're going to make Texas purple. It's not going to be red anymore. We're not going to be a solid conservative Republican state. We, the teachers' unions, which he's working with, are going to flip Texas blue, and we're going to become purple as soon as possible. And I want to say that they're probably going to achieve this goal in about 10 to 15 years, unless we have dramatic change. If we make it that far. But that's what's happening. The Democrats are trying to flip Texas from a red state to a blue state, and Ernest Bales is working to make this happen. So, Ernest Bales participated in this aforementioned rally, of which the intent of this said rally was to elect Democrat candidates and defeat Republican candidates, including Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick and other Republican candidates. So he claims he's a conservative Republican, but he's campaigning with the Democrats at a rally with the left-wing teachers union, wearing a purple shirt, campaigning against conservative Republican candidates and for left-wing radical Marxist Democrat candidates. That's what he was doing. I'm not making this up. No one made him go to that rally. He chose to go. He chose to wear that purple shirt to show his solidarity and his commitment to achieving this goal of flipping Texas from red to blue. Ernest Bales also voted with the censured Texas House Speaker Dade Phelan to grant Democrats powerful chairmanships, which they used to obstruct the Republican agenda. So even though the Texas House has a Republican majority, the Democrats control it. It's like, how can the Democrats control the Texas House when it has a solid Republican majority? Because of people like Dade Phelan and Ernest Bales, who cut deals and support with and work with the Democrats to make sure that they control the Texas House. That's just another fact. That was something he did. He decided that he wanted to keep Democrats, even though they have a Republican majority, he wanted to keep the Democrats in positions of power and having these chairmanships so the Democrats could impede and kill Republican legislation. Also, Ernest Bales voted to impeach the effective Republican Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton. Ken Paxton has been very effective, one of the best Republican Attorney Generals in the nation. There's a couple almost as good as him, but he's in the forefront and a great leader advancing the conservative agenda as Attorney General and fighting against the disastrous and damaging left-wing policies of the Biden administration. So what did Ernest Bales do to this champion, the stalwart conservative warrior? He voted to impeach him over what? Nothing. I mean, it's amazing. Over a countertop in a kitchen. It's absurd. They wasted time and millions of dollars to impeach Ken Paxton. It's an outrage. No real conservative supported or would have supported that outrage. Ernest Bales is united with the left-wing CRT promoting Marxist teachers unions and teachers associations in his attempt to defeat Governor Greg Abbott's legislative priority of education reform and school choice. So school choice means opening doors of opportunity to our students and our parents so they can improve the quality of education for all Texas students and set up our children for success. It's a great thing. And Ernest Bales is a minion or a toady of the left-wing teachers unions who've really exposed themselves, especially under COVID, of being anti-American and having a political agenda. And we as conservatives, we need to support education and we need to support our teachers, but we can't support these educational teachers associations and teachers unions because they're not educating our children, they're failing our kids, and they're engaging in left-wing political indoctrinations, even here in Texas. And we have to confront this issue for the sake of our children, the sake of our future. And honestly, I'm concerned with the other opponent I'm facing, Janet Holt, because she's really tight with these teachers unions as well. We need to put education first and our kids first and confront the problem we have with the teachers unions. Ernest Bales campaigns as a fiscal conservative, yet he earned a 38 on the Fiscal Responsibility Index because he's not a fiscal conservative. He's not a Republican at all. He's a left-wing tax and spend Democrat. And so he doesn't care about fiscal conservatism. He's just blowing the bank out and squandering all of our money. It's a serious problem. Fiscal conservatism is important. Look at inflation. Look at the value of the dollar declining. Look at the debt that we have as a nation. We need fiscal conservatism. We need to take fiscal issues seriously. But Democrats just want to throw money at everything. And that's very detrimental to our nation and its future. Ernest Bales campaigned as pro-life, and yet he earned a 42 rating from the Texas Right to Life because of his support for pro-abortion legislation. So Ernest Bales campaigns saying he's pro-life. He gets to Austin. He starts supporting pro-abortion legislation. He was exposed. I'm not making this up. I'm not part of, I do support Texas Right to Life. I'm not a part of that organization. I didn't found that organization. They're working independently of me. They looked at the legislation that he's passing and supporting, and they found that he was supporting abortion legislation. So he was given a 42, which is a failing grade. After he was exposed, he tried to cover up his support for abortion, and so he has been able to bring his grade up to a 68. He's still, to this day, failing. So he's not really pro-life. I am pro-life. Ernest Bales voted to give funding to Texas hospitals that encourage children to have sex change gender transition. So I don't know why you'd give money to any hospital that supports transgendering, if that's what you want to call it, gender mutilation of children, but he did. Ernest Bales has sought and received support from left-wing organizations such as the teachers' unions and publications, radical left-wing publications such as the Houston Chronicle, to which he boasted of his opposition to Governor Abbott, and school choice. Ernest Bales also stated of himself that he is a prostitute. He prostitutes himself to special interest groups and lobbyists. I'm surprised that he made such a vulgar and crass comment, but he did. Ernest Bales has obstructed legislation confronting our border crisis by putting open borders Democrats on the committees dealing with the border issue. So we have a border problem for our nation, especially for Texas. We've had probably 10 million illegal aliens cross into our country under the Biden administration. And Texas has done some good things. We need to do more. We're not really confronting the issue of the open border the way we need to. So the Texas legislature is trying to pass legislation to strengthen our border. And what does Ernest Bales do? He sabotages these efforts. Okay, we have a committee. Let's tackle the border issue. Oh no, Bales says, let's bring in a whole bunch of open border Democrats. What is that going to accomplish? It's going to prevent anything from getting done so the border remains open. Because That's part of Ernest Bell's agenda. He wants to flip Texas from red to blue, and he thinks one of the ways to do that is through immigration, legal and illegal, as we'll see in a moment. Ernest Bell's helped to create Colony Ridge, Torino's Houston, and he thereby transformed my district, HD 18, to a sanctuary district for illegal immigration with House Bill 4341. Ernest Bales dishonestly introduced HB 4341 in a deceitful and surreptitious manner by misfiling it with local and uncontested legislation, thereby preventing debate on the matter and attempting to keep his constituents uninformed of the issue, thereby showing he knew that the said legislation was harmful to the citizens of his district, of his House district. He prevented them from having a voice on legislation that would negatively impact their lives. Ernest Bales, through HB 4341 and the fraudulent MMD that it created for Trey Harris, his friend and hunting buddy, which through all intents and purposes, Ernest Bales has bequeathed large portions of Liberty County to his friend Trey Harris, and has thus allowed Trey Harris to transform Liberty County into his own personal fiefdom, where Mr. Harris and his brother John exploit the people of Liberty County and vulnerable, undocumented people that they have attracted to the area. Ernest Bales has allowed Trey and John Harris to cut corners and skirt policies, regulations, and the building code, resulting in the building of a shantytown and reports of draining issues with flooding in the immediate area and down to Kingwood, and reports of human waste being pumped into topsoil and into local creeks, rivers, and lakes which feed the drinking water. There are reports of the Gulf and Sinaloa drug cartels operating with impunity in the Colony Ridge development, where they engage in sex trafficking and drug trafficking, and on which land the bodies of boys and girls have been found riddled with bullets. The violence at Colony Ridge is spilling over, and now we have hardened killers of men, women, and children running amok in our community, putting our families in mortal peril. Families who have lived in Liberty and San Jacinto County for generations are being forced to leave because of the disastrous effects of Colony Ridge, Torino's Houston. Due to the policies of Ernest Bales, our community is becoming less safe. There are currently 70,000 people, mostly undocumented, in the Colony Ridge development, and Ernest Bales intends to grow it to 250,000 or more, meaning that eventually Colony Ridge will dominate all of Liberty and San Jacinto County, and the aforementioned Mexican drug cartels will thus likely control this region. Ernest Bales has placed a heavy burden on the local community, creating a strain on resources and on the local infrastructure, forcing local residents to pay for the building of several new schools to be built to accommodate Colony Ridge, a fact of which he boasts to his friends in the left-wing teachers' unions and teachers' associations. And let's conclude with a statement from Attorney General Ken Paxton. He said, "I am beyond disappointed in Representative Bales for apparently working to enrich specific developers," meaning John and Trey Harris, "at enormous expense to the rest of the public, and reducing the quality of life for his own constituents." So all this leads us to the inevitable conclusion that Ernest Bales is a Democrat who's run on the Republican ticket. I believe he's a con man, and Ernest Bales has betrayed. Ernest Bales has deceived Republican voters in HD 18, and he has betrayed his constituents to the disasters of Democrat policies that he's forcing on us, and also allowing this cancer of Colony Ridge to fester and poison and potentially destroy our entire House district and potentially Texas and the rest of the nation. You know, Bell says, well, I passed HB 4341 to manage. Oh, that had already started there. Trey Harris was already doing that. I created that HD 4341 to manage. Well, what has he managed over there? It's chaos. He's bequeathed in that legislation everything to John Harris to run it however he wants to, poisoning our rivers and creeks with human sewage, raw human sewage, with inadequate drainage, flooding not just our own area, but all the way to Kingwood. Why doesn't he just be honest and say that he sold out the people for money and that this is part of his agenda to advance the policies of the radical left-wing Democrat Party and to flip Texas from red to blue. Now is the time for us to take action and stop Ernest Bales. Early voting is on February 20th, 2024. Election day is March 2024. Let's hold Ernest Bales accountable for what he's done to us. Let's vote him out of office. If you want an alternative or another option, you want somebody that's a committed conservative who will advance conservatism and patriotism and supports Donald J. Trump and our United States Constitution, someone who served in combat for our country twice, then vote for me. Vote for Dr. Missick. And it's not about me. This is bigger than me. It's about what I'm going to do for you to save our county from Ernest Bales and Trey Harris so we can turn things around. 2024 is going to be a pivotal election. The survival of our nation is at stake. Are we going to become a third world Marxist country? Or are we going to maintain our freedom and our liberty as a constitutional republic? Get involved. And please vote. Don't vote for Ernest Bales. Vote for me so we can have a victory for HB 18, a victory for Liberty, San Jacinto, Hardin, and East Montgomery County, and a victory for the people of Texas, and a victory against Trey Harris and Colony Ridge. We can make it happen. We can create a better future for all the citizens living in HB 18. So thank you. God bless you. And don't forget to vote. Early voting, February 20th. Election day, primary election day. Don't just complain about things. Be proactive and vote. And let's vote Ernest Bales out of office so that we can have a better future for all of our Texas families. Thank you, and God bless you.